Well, welcome poetry patrons, because there aren't usually very many of you, and we're grateful that you came and that you will endure through the poetry reading, especially since there is no seating in particular. It will be fairly brief. We have about 20 minutes, and I'm hoping somebody will be my timekeeper. Is there someone who's going to do that? Mike is going to do that. So my husband's going to flag me down and tell me when we're 15 minutes in, and then when we're almost out of time. Okay? So we have a book out there that you can buy. Laura is hawking the book for us. It's called The Water Show. And there were 20 of these kind of watery paintings in the original Water Show. And those are all kind of featured in the book. So each of them is paired with a poem, and in the book we have 20 poems that go with the 20 paintings. But there were quite a few other water poems that we wanted to feature in the book. So there are pictures from the show, there are the additional poems, and the reason that we had the Water Show at all was because we were working off of a theme from Moby Dick in particular, and we reread that recently after we attended my niece's wedding in Mystic, Connecticut. And that's where, like, Moby Dick kind of took place. So if you remember the story, it starts out, my name is Ishmael. And in the beginning, Ishmael is a guy who, mostly because he's depressed, goes to sea. Well, he chose the wrong boat. He ends up with Captain Ahab chasing a white whale. The whole thing is a disaster. The boat goes down. He ends up being saved in the end by floating away on somebody's coffin, and that's how he gets to safety, is by floating on somebody's coffin. And it's a picture of kind of the Christian idea of baptism and the idea of drowning or nearly drowning, and then having some second chance, second life. And many of us go through similar drownings in our lives. And so these paintings are all about rough waters, drowning, extinction of your life in many ways, and coming back up and deciding at that point in some way, are you going to be a better person, or are you going to be a bitter, broken, angry person? And how are you going to deal with your life? So some of the poems are direct in that way, and some of them are a little more indirect. So I'm going to put on my glasses, and we will start at the beginning. I'm not going to read a lot of poems. I'm going to kind of keep my eye on my husband, who's going to flag me down because of the time limit, and I'm going to skip around. I may not read everything I hoped to read. The first one is, if I had known how dry you were, I would have given you water. If I had known you were hungry for bread, I'd have given you mine, no matter. I supposed you wanted to taste the sea, to see if the brine is flat or stale. And while I sat at home awaiting your verdict, you boarded your ship and set sail. That was after sort of a disappointing relationship with somebody in which we had invested quite a bit of time, and they just sort of blew off the relationship, and sometimes you're just left wondering. This is a more about God, or about our relationship with God. A star is a star, twinkling or hidden by clouds of the evening or lights of day. The deep is the deep, whether anyone dives there, whether fish monsters floated into the bay. Omnipresence moves without our assistance. He is what he is, so we stand in awe. If I lay myself prostrate in the flow of his river, will suffuse the cavern of my aching flaw. The world has gotten smaller during COVID and in the years previous, kind of around this whole time between politics and COVID and what's happening in every country of the world. When I was a child and the world was round, I never felt cornered or trapped. I always knew I could weather through and secure any corner that flapped. But now I'm old, less than half as bold, and I meet every juncture with caution. The world is flat, and the end is that one may run out of spots to vacation. Not the kind of person who moves easily through life, not a fish swimming the current downstream. I am a salmon, leaping up water to something I do not know, have not seen, and yet am desperate to find. On my compass is a due north, a spawning lost to memory, calling me home. Some would ask the wind why he's restless. Some would ask the sea why he heaves. Some would question the courses of rivers, the blueness of sky, or the greenness of leaves. But for him who would question the bird in his singing, for him who would ask why the eagles fly, for one who would question the source of joy springing, the answer must be insufficient reply. This one is here. Sorrow runs deeper than happiness. If you plunged it, you would know how much of humanity swims its waters and drinks its briny flow. And you'd know love hides his treasure there, sunk like a merchant ship, waiting for divers to find the bounty revealed to those not seeking it. This poem is kind of the state of my life at this minute. This is an old poem, but it comes back to me kind of like a prophecy to give me hope for tomorrow. I prayed for the wind, but the languid sea only reflected the sun. I lifted my sails until all I wanted was to see my sailing done. When all my angst was over and finished, when I was prepared to die, a mighty gale filled the sail, and the skiff just seemed to fly. This is a kind of an idea of how the way you end up is what's important, not where you came from, not what you started out with, but who you become later. Lucky was I to have pushed to sea in the swirls of raging storm. Now, strawberry air, the sailors declare, portends languid seas and warm. I could have started a swaddled babe to hurtle toward endless night. Started well, but bound for hell, the black putting out the light, the black putting out the light. This poem is about a very fortunate redemptive experience I had at the age of 15, and I had no idea what a treasure that was, and had a wonderful experience of a communion with other people who shared the same experience. It was magical. I had no idea how rare that is. I had a taste of magic water when I was a golden-haired girl, so I thought all water would taste like that as I made my way out in the world. A princess at play with her father's crown, it was years before I knew the rare ambrosia distilled from heaven is found by precious few. How are we doing? 5 minutes. Okay. This is a watery poem. I am spread too thin, like night rain on a tile shelf. I could increase my stature. I could puddle up and really be something, like a reflecting pool or even a column of water in a rain gauge. But I am distracted by this here and that there, and nothing accumulates. The goldfinches will come and roll their morning feathers on me. The sun will shine, the birds will shake themselves, and in a spray of gold rain dust, I'll be gone. We lived on a farm for 38 years. I miss that still. There was a lifestyle there that was, all sun and dirt and laundry and, I want to drop decorum and pharmacy to become again a madwoman, my fingers dripping with moss and grapevine, the consort of crows. I would don a house dress and hang out wash. It wouldn't matter how red my hands were, for I would be purified with the exorcism of exertion. The cleaning frenzy and dirt devilment would purge me like the salt of tears. I would write poems and stuff them in drawers or find them later in old sweaters out of favor. And so I'd cleanse all with lye soap and reality and put the world on like a clean cotton nightgown, stiff and starch against my skin. Manageable at last, disinfected by the sun. Don't have much time left. I'm going to read the last poem. This is an experience when that wonderful community that we lived in, where we experienced that magical community. We still meet with those people actually every Christmas for the last 40 years. But it was kind of one of those things like Camelot, it didn't last forever and people moved away and they had children and they had families and their jobs took them elsewhere. And it kind of like the tribe broke up. We're still sort of together, but we're scattered everywhere. The ship broke up, the crew went down into the briny billows, down and down, perhaps to drown, to sleep on mossy pillows. Washed ashore, myself alive, I found my sandy fellows, the same but changed, all rearranged. It's strange how drowning mellows. And we have found people have mellowed. Our old friends, many of them, have gone through all of this drowning. And they're nicer people, better people. They have stories. And we can meet on a different level now. And it's all good. And that's what I have to say about any trouble you're going through. Persevere, seek your higher power, seek what it is that will keep you human and loving and caring about other people. And you'll come out the other side and it'll be good. So that's the end.